Let me just read you some numbers. 1 year, Boeing share price up 67%, circa 67%. Year to date, up 19%. I'm sure those numbers put a smile on your face. My question is, would those numbers be higher if the president hadn't started a trade war with China?
Well, I think first those numbers reflect the fact that we're continuing to deliver value for our customers, and it's really a credit to our people and the work they're doing. I think we're also riding the fact that global growth is occurring. Aerospace is growing. That's enabled by positive trade policy. I think some of the things that have happened and have been done by the administration in terms of tax reform, regulatory reform have added momentum. We are concerned about some of the discussions right now around trade. And our aerospace business thrives on free and open global trade. We're hopeful we're going to find solutions as alternatives to some of the tariff discussions that have been going on. This is an important topic to us.
When you talk to the White House, when you talk to the president, what kind of feedback do you get? Are you being listened to? What is he saying to you?
Yeah, we definitely have a seat at the table, and I think it's important that business's voice is being heard. Global trade is a complex topic, and we understand there are issues that need to be addressed and challenges around the world. But again, I'll go back to the idea that aerospace is something that contributes to growth in multiple countries around the world. I think as you look at things like the U.S.-China trade relationship, for example, China needs the lift capacity of aerospace. It's fueling economic growth in China. Also in the U.S., aerospace is the biggest trade surplus generator. Last year, an $80 billion trade surplus in the U.S. A lot of that is generated by Boeing and our supply chain. In addition, it's manufacturing jobs in the U.S. So aerospace is uniquely suited to help grow economies around the world. And while we deal with these trade challenges, it's important to keep that perspective in mind.
Do you worry that these trade challenges, as you put them, could result in China buying more Airbus aircraft?
Well, it's a concern we have. Again, we don't expect to see sudden shifts in backlogs and delivery profiles. This is a long-term business. We have great relationships in China. We've been there for a long time. We're engaged with the Chinese government. We're having continuing very good dialogue with our Chinese customers. We're building capacity in China. So we don't expect to see any sudden shifts there. We have to respect the fact that there are issues that both countries are trying to deal with, both governments are trying to deal with. We're trying to be part of the solution. We got a seat at the table. Our voice is being heard. Again, we're trying to drive for productive solutions.
You talked about your supply chain and how important that is. We're already seeing the metals tariffs starting to become a reality. These guys use a lot of aluminium. They use a lot of the kind of products that we're talking about here. When you talk to your supply chain, what feedback are you getting about some of those issues that could be felt?
Yeah, they feel some of those pressures as well. Now, the tariffs on metals haven't directly impacted us yet, haven't had a material impact. In terms of aluminum, we source about 90% of our aluminum out of the United States.
Okay.
So it hasn't directly impacted us, but it's, again, plays more to the overall supply chain ecosystem and the health of global trade. We see that as a real enabler for the future. And free and open trade is something that will enable continuing passenger growth, cargo growth. That's good for the economies around the world.
You talk about the link to global GDP. In some ways, the aerospace sector is a kind of high beta story when it comes to the global trade story. Global trade does X, aerospace does kind of X plus 1 or X plus 2. There's a downturn coming at some point. You mentioned the tax story. The tax story has been a sugar high, which has kept this economic cycle going in the United States a little bit longer. What do you see in the future? Your order books look pretty full now. Then what? We
see long-term sustained growth. I think what you've seen is a fundamental shift in the structure of the aerospace ecosystem around the world. In the past, it's been a highly cyclical business. It's been regionally concentrated. It's been dominated by backlogs in the U.S. and Europe. Today, we have 7 to 8 years of backlog. Aerospace industry has changed to be much more global. We've gotten away from a hub and spoke traffic network to globally connected city pair networks. So the fundamental structure of the marketplace has changed. Add to that our discipline around production rates, how we're managing the business, how we're investing for the future. Aerospace is moving from being a highly cyclical business to a long-term sustained growth business.
One of the ways you're going to do that is by bringing some of the supply chain in. And you're going to be able to say, you know what, that's a widget that goes on one of my planes, and I'm going to be able to sell it on in the aftermarket. And you're looking maybe to the aftermarket to smooth that kind of cyclicality that previously had existed within this industry. Talk to me about M&A, therefore. How much of that supply chain can you bring in? How much are you looking to bring in? Which areas are you going to be focusing on?
Yeah, one of our big strategies for the future is to grow that services business and grow what we call vertical content, depth within our airplanes. Most of that is organic growth, investments we're making in areas like avionics, actuation, interiors. It's also an area where we do look for inorganic or external partnerships. We've announced some joint ventures recently in that area, which have been productive. We see more opportunities for the future to build out that vertical capability that creates value for our customers and also creates a life cycle revenue stream. A good example of that locally here is the manufacturing capacity that we're building at Sheffield, our first big manufacturing facility here in the UK, building actuators for the 777 and 737 aircraft. That creates value for customers and services growth.
NMA is this middle market aircraft, the 797, call it what you will. We're kind of waiting for news on it.
Yeah.
So, and that service story is going to be part of the kind of economic argument that exists around making that airframe viable. The longer you leave it, does it become tougher to make the decision?
Now, I think we're right on track. We're continuing to have very productive discussions with our customers, literally dozens of customers. We've been looking at options and alternatives. Again, looking at this through the view of what creates value for our customers, what creates life cycle value. We see a need for an airplane in the 2025 timeframe. We're protecting that schedule.
And investors are on board with this, yeah?
Yeah, they are. And we're going to do our diligent homework. It's important that we make the right decision. We're not going to be rushed to a decision. We expect to make a launch decision in 2019. Again, that'll protect the 2025 entry date, and we're going to look at this through a customer value lens.